close your eyes for a moment and allow the noise of the world to settle like dust on an undisturbed path. There is a point inside you where nothing ever moves, a center where the storms of life cannot enter, a silence that waits patiently for your return. Life becomes complicated only when we hold too tightly to memories, to identities, to people, to wounds that have lost their meaning. The heart was created for flow, but the mind insists on grip, and between the two, a human being becomes divided. Freedom begins the moment you relax your hands, the moment you stop forcing life to obey your expectations, the moment you stop fighting with what already is. There is a strange peace that comes when you stop arguing with reality, a peace that has no reason, no cause, a peace that simply rises like fragrance from the flower of acceptance. The past has already walked far away from you, yet you keep calling it back, repeating it, polishing it, wearing it like an old coat, even when its weight suffocates your ability to breathe. And the future, a dream that the mind paints with trembling hands. You chase it as if it holds salvation, but it dissolves the moment you reach for it. Between the past that no longer exists and the future that has not yet arrived lies a doorway into a timeless now, a space where life is fresh, untouched, alive. This moment asks nothing of you. It does not demand perfection. It does not require achievement. It does not expect you to become someone special. It simply invites you to be here, to breathe without resistance, to exist without burden. Every emotion you cling to is just energy wanting to move through you. Pain wants to pass, anger wants to pass, fear wants to pass, but you hold them all like treasures, forgetting that their purpose was never to stay. When you watch your thoughts without judgment, the grip of the mind begins to loosen. Thoughts lose their sharpness, memories lose their poison, and a softness begins to bloom within you. Slowly, the heart becomes lighter. Slowly, the breath becomes deeper. Slowly, the inner sky becomes clearer. You do not have to throw anything away. All that is false falls on its own. When your awareness touches it gently, the real remains, the unreal dissolves. This is the natural law of consciousness. The moment you stop clutching your pain, you discover that it had no power of its own. The moment you stop replaying your stories, you realize they were only shadows on the wall. And when you stop trying to control life, life begins to guide you with its own mysterious intelligence. Things fall into place without effort. Paths open without force. People arrive without being chased. Opportunities unfold without anxiety. Existence moves with a rhythm far wiser than the human mind, and it becomes visible only when you stop interfering. There is nothing to protect, nothing to defend, nothing to become. You are already complete, not in the way the world defines completeness, but in a deeper, quieter, more timeless way. When you shed the layers that were never yours, your original face begins to appear, a face untouched by fear, untouched by comparison, untouched by the opinions of others. In this simplicity, a new kind of beauty arises, the beauty of being utterly yourself, and in this authenticity, love begins to flow naturally, not as a demand, not as a transaction, but as a fragrance of your own presence. A moment comes when you realize that you are no longer carrying the weight of yesterday, when your heart feels as light as the morning sky, when silence becomes your closest companion, and when every breath feels like a return home. Nothing dramatic happens, no fireworks, no miracles, just a subtle shift, a quiet opening, a gentle freedom. A freedom so soft that only those who have touched their own depths can recognize it. This is the real transformation when holding becomes unnecessary, when clinging becomes impossible, when life is allowed to flow and you are able to flow with it without fear, without resistance, without effort. This is the beginning of true surrender and the foundation of real peace. There comes a moment in every life when the old ways of being begin to crack, when the masks you have worn for years no longer fit the shape of your soul, and a quiet voice inside whispers, "It's time to release." But transformation does not arrive with noise. It enters silently, like dawn entering a dark forest, touching everything gently, awakening what had been asleep for too long. You begin to notice small things. Breath becomes soft, eyes become clearer, thoughts lose their sharp edges. The heart, once guarded like a fortress, starts opening like a flower meeting sunlight after a long, cold night. You do not force this opening, it happens on its own. When the inner tension melts, the world taught you to hold on, to fight, to demand, to chase. But your being has always known a different language, the language of ease, the language of acceptance, the language of letting things be as they are. It is astonishing how much energy is freed the moment you stop resisting what life is offering. Suddenly, the weight you carried on your shoulders for years feels unnecessary, almost absurd. You wonder how you survived living inside a cage built not by the world, but by your own fears, your own demands, your own stories. In the light of awareness, those walls begin to crumble. What once felt impossible to release now feels too heavy to hold. Even your pain, which seemed so permanent, begins to lose its grip when you stop feeding it with memory. Emotions pass like clouds when you allow them to pass, but when you hold them, they become storms. You start realizing that nothing stays unless you cling to it. Everything that lives was never meant to trap you. The universe is always trying to move you toward spaciousness, toward clarity, toward a lighter way of existing. But you must be willing to open your hands. There is a beauty in living without tightness, a beauty in flowing without fear, a beauty in trusting the natural rhythm of your own life.